What does it really mean to speak to a woman in a way that captivates her mind? Not like a clingy, nice guy, begging for crumbs of attention, but like a strategist, someone who knows exactly what he's saying, and more importantly, why he's saying it. Most men fail right from the start. They approach women from a position of need. They plead for attention. They look for approval. They unconsciously place themselves below her and then wonder why no one takes them seriously. That ends today. You're about to learn how to cut the begging out of your system for good. How to replace that urge to please with the ability to speak from power, not from desperation. Because speaking to a woman and controlling the frame of the conversation is an art, a lethal art. And only men who master it become the ones she thinks about, the ones she chases, the ones she refuses to let go. The difference was never your looks. It was never your bank account. It was never your degree. The difference is this: some men understand female psychology and the rest stay confused, frustrated, and rejected. Today, you're going to learn the Machiavellian method of speaking to women. The method of men who never beg, never seek approval, and ignite desire without even hinting at a plea. I'll show you how to dominate her emotions through your words. How to trigger her deepest instincts without even touching her. How to make her see you not as a man she might talk to, but as a man she cannot ignore, a man she must follow. If you go blank around women, if you feel like she's waiting for the first excuse to leave, if you keep getting shoved into the friend zone like it's your second home, that changes now. But first hit the like button. Because what you're about to hear are truths that 99% of men will never have the courage to apply. And if you stay until the end, I'll give you a lethal psychological technique you can use tonight to trap any woman's mind inside your frame, and the most brutal part? She won't even realize it's happening. Why can some men speak to a woman and instantly have her hooked, while others are ignored, blocked, or treated like they don't exist? It's not about luck. It's not about money. It's about power projection. When you speak to a woman, you're not just exchanging words, you're exchanging status. In the first few seconds, she's not even processing the exact words you say, she's scanning you. If you're insecure, she feels it. If you're anxious, she spots it instantly. If you're trying to impress her, she knows. And here's the killer truth: if she senses you're fighting for her attention, you've already lost. The man who holds the power in any conversation is the one who doesn't need validation. He's not trying to be liked. He's not trying to be funny. He's not bending over backwards to appear interesting. He speaks as though his truth is enough, because it is enough. And that kind of presence, it's magnetic. Most guys approach a woman already in a submissive frame. They want to make her laugh. They want to entertain her. They want to convince her they're worth it. But here's the harsh reality: if you have to convince her, you've already placed yourself beneath her. And if you're beneath her, she will never feel true desire for you. Desire is not built on sympathy. Desire is not built on affection. Desire is built on attraction, and attraction is born from unpredictability and emotional impact. Women aren't drawn to what they control. They're drawn to what they can't fully figure out. A man who speaks without a filter, who moves on his own terms, who isn't constantly checking if she approves, he's an anomaly. And anomalies? They're irresistible. Let's strip the sugar coating away. When you speak like a needy man, you behave like a child. And when you act like a child, she will never see you as a man, only as a harmless, friendly brother. And here's what you don't want: you don't want to be her friend. You don't want to be her therapist. You don't want to be her emotional teddy bear. You want to be the thought in her head when she's lying in bed, unable to sleep. You want her wondering what you're doing, who you're with, and why she can't stop thinking about you. And that only happens when you are not impressed by her. Her beauty doesn't intimidate you. Her indifference doesn't rattle you. Her attention is not your reward. When you reach that level of detachment, the game flips. She begins chasing you. She starts working to earn your interest. She begins explaining herself to you, not the other way around. That's the first true sign of dominance. When you're no longer trying to prove yourself, she starts trying to prove herself to you. And to get there, you have to kill the needy man inside you permanently. The man who over-explains himself, who is afraid to offend, and who places a woman on a pedestal just because she is attractive will never be the man she truly desires. She does not want an emotional servant who is always there to please her. She wants a man who challenges her, who makes her feel that her beauty alone is not enough to win him, and who stimulates her mind as much as her senses. To be that man, you must first understand a fundamental truth. You are not speaking to a woman, you are speaking to her ego. Her ego is like a radar, programmed to detect weakness and inauthenticity. It scans your tone, your words, and your body language for any sign of fear, doubt, or anxiety. The moment you enter a conversation with those traits, she feels it, and though she may not say it out loud, she mentally discards you. But when you enter with clarity, calmness, and inner dominance, even if you are not the tallest, most handsome, or wealthiest man in the room, she feels that energy too, and it unsettles her. She cannot control you, she cannot label you, and she cannot predict your next move. That confusion is where desire begins to grow. Desire is not born from giving her all the answers. It is born from leaving her with questions she cannot stop thinking about. Speaking to a woman is not simply about the words you use, but about the signals you send, the subtle messages that bypass her conscious mind and trigger her subconscious. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful form of communication is not direct. It is ambiguous and forces the listener to interpret the meaning. What must be interpreted is what becomes desired. When you speak in a straight line, being predictable and overly logical, you make yourself boring. She knows your intentions, she can guess your next sentence, and she can see you are playing by her rules. But when you weave ambiguity into your words, when you pause and let silence carry tension, when your eyes speak more than your mouth, and when your tone contains irony, quiet confidence, and subtle challenge, you awaken her primal side. This side does not seek logic, it seeks tension, stimulation, and the thrill of something it cannot fully understand. Desire cannot be generated by explaining that you are a nice guy, by constantly telling her how much you like her, or by drowning her in validation. Desire thrives on emotional confusion, contradiction, and unresolved tension. To create that tension, you must speak and behave like a man who already has options, a man who does not seek approval but instead observes, a man who does not chase but allows her to step toward him. In this game, your tone matters more than your choice of words, your rhythm matters more than your story, and your energy matters more than your compliments. When you speak slowly, calmly, and with control, she feels it in ways she cannot explain. And paradoxically, your calmness makes her nervous, because deep down she knows she is no longer the one running the interaction. That is when you have stepped into true dominance. Machiavelli understood a truth that most men today completely overlook. Every human interaction is, at its core, a quiet battle for control of perception. When you speak to a woman, you are not simply exchanging information, you are negotiating who holds the psychological high ground. In his view, power is not just about what you truly are, but about what you appear to be. The man who appears in control, who seems certain of his value, will often be treated as if that value is real, even if, in reality, it is carefully constructed. This is where most men fail. They focus on reality, thinking they need to prove they are good enough, kind enough, or accomplished enough. But Machiavelli would say, reality is secondary, perception is everything. If you can make her feel that you are the prize, that you are the one she must earn, her behavior will shift to match that perception. And here is the subtlety: you do not convince her by telling her you are valuable. You convince her by behaving as if her recognition is optional, not essential. In politics, Machiavelli often advised leaders to focus on the image they projected to the people, an image of strength, decisiveness, and control, even if behind the curtain they were uncertain or making calculated compromises. In attraction, the same rule applies. If you speak to a woman like a man who is already desired by others, if you project the calm certainty of someone who is used to being pursued, you bypass the need for her approval entirely. Instead, you become the one she subconsciously works to impress. This is the heart of Machiavellian influence: you reverse the chase. You are not standing before her seeking permission to be desired, you are giving her the opportunity to qualify herself to you. And the irony is, when you remove the need to win her over, you actually make her far more likely to want to win you. Machiavelli knew that control over others is not maintained through constant reassurance, it is maintained through uncertainty. People cling to what they cannot fully understand because it keeps their minds occupied, searching for answers. In politics, he used this principle to keep rivals guessing. In attraction, the same tactic works even more powerfully. A woman's mind will not linger on something she has completely figured out. But when you give her just enough to spark curiosity, without letting her see the full picture, you become a puzzle she wants to solve. Most men destroy mystery the moment they meet a woman. They spill their life story, declare their intentions, and practically hand over the full instruction manual to their personality. They believe honesty means total exposure, but Machiavelli would call this a strategic error. A man who reveals everything leaves no room for imagination, and without imagination, there is no tension, no intrigue, and no desire. Mystery is not about being secretive in a cold or suspicious way, it is about creating gaps in the story. Let her wonder why you looked at her a certain way. Let her think about what you meant by an offhand comment. Let her imagine what you might be doing when you don't reply instantly. Every unanswered question plants a hook in her mind, and that hook keeps pulling her thoughts back to you. The danger of overexposure is predictability, and predictability kills attraction. When she knows your every move, she stops wondering, and when she stops wondering, she stops feeling. But when you maintain just enough unpredictability, you create an addictive cycle. She reaches out for clarity, you give her a little, then pull back, and in that push and pull, her emotional investment grows. Machiavelli's brilliance was understanding that dependency is created not when you give people everything, but when you give them just enough to make them need more. In conversation, that means never emptying your hand in the first round. Leave something unsaid. Keep her slightly off balance. Let her work for the full picture, because the moment she starts working for your attention, you have already shifted the power dynamic in your favor. In every interaction, there is an invisible battlefield. It's not about the words being said, it's about who decides the meaning of those words. This is called the frame, and whoever controls it, controls the mind of the other person. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely taken by force, it is often taken by quietly setting the rules of engagement before the other person even realizes there are rules. When you speak to a woman, the frame is the emotional and psychological context in which the conversation happens. Is this an interview where you're trying to prove yourself to her? Or is it an audition where she is trying to prove herself to you? If you are not consciously controlling the frame, she will, and once she does, you are already playing her game instead of yours. The problem is, most men enter a conversation already inside her frame. They see her beauty and instantly adopt the role of the pursuer, the applicant, the one trying to win approval. They accept her unspoken assumption that she is the prize. Machiavelli would call this a surrender before the first blow. You cannot dominate a mind if you've already accepted a position beneath it. Controlling the frame begins with subtle, unshakable certainty. You don't react to her tests or provocations. You don't scramble to fill silences. You don't adjust your personality to match hers. Instead, you set the tone through your pacing, your eye contact, your choice of topics, and she adapts to you. Every time she laughs at your teasing, follows your conversational lead, or invests energy trying to get your approval, she is stepping deeper into your frame. Think of it like hosting a dinner in your own house. You decide the music, the lighting, the food, the seating, everything shapes the atmosphere. Now imagine letting your guest rearrange your furniture, change the playlist, and tell you how to serve dinner. That's what most men do in conversations. They let the guest redecorate their frame. A Machiavellian man never lets that happen. And here's the key: controlling the frame isn't about dominance through aggression. It's about subtle leadership. A calm, amused, self-contained presence communicates more power than 100 words of self-promotion. When you lead without forcing, she feels both safe and challenged, and that balance is where true psychological influence is born. Machiavelli understood that human behavior is rarely driven by logic, it is driven by emotional states. And one of the most powerful emotional states you can create in a person is tension. Not the kind of tension that repels, but the kind that keeps someone leaning forward, mentally and emotionally hooked, desperate for resolution. In attraction, tension is the space between what she feels and what she knows. If she feels drawn to you but cannot fully predict your next move, you've created a powerful loop in her mind, a loop she will keep trying to close. Most men kill this tension instantly. They rush to reassure her. They give constant validation. They make their interest painfully obvious. And in doing so, they remove all mystery, all challenge, all reason for her to keep investing her thoughts in them. The Machiavellian approach is different. You give her just enough to feel connected, but not enough for her to feel certain. A slight smile when she expects a compliment. A pause before answering a question. A moment of playful disagreement when she expects you to agree. These are not random behaviors, they are controlled injections of uncertainty, designed to keep her emotional state in flux. Why does this work? Because the human brain craves resolution. When a pattern is broken, the mind wants to complete it. When she can't predict you, she keeps thinking about you in an effort to figure you out. And in doing so, she's emotionally investing without even realizing it. Think about it. When has someone occupied your mind the most? It wasn't the person who was an open book, it was the one who left you wondering, second-guessing, and replaying conversations in your head. That is exactly the dynamic you must create if you want to dominate her mind. Machiavelli would remind you that tension must be balanced. Too much, and you become cold or hostile. Too little, and you become boring. The art is in the rhythm, moments of connection followed by moments of distance, moments of warmth followed by moments of challenge. This push and pull is the emotional rope she will keep trying to pull toward her, never realizing you are the one holding it the entire time. In the end, emotional tension is the fuel of attraction. It keeps her engaged, curious, and invested. And when you can sustain that tension over time, you don't just catch her attention, you live rent-free in her mind.